Batman Last Night on Earth issue 2. That's got Snyder and Greg Capullo.
Yeah, this is basically just old man Bruce, well, young man Bruce with old man Bruce's memories. Because we get this section here where it opens up with a memory, what looks like a memory of Bruce going and taking out Joe Chill. But Joe Chill is talking about like something else that he's done with another kid.
Or no, it's something that Bruce thinks he's done. There's
Right.
another kid in Crime Alley, and he's like, I don't know, it's just you, Bruce. He said, yeah, I know it's you,
Right.
Bruce.
Yeah.
And he's you, and Bruce said, oh, who is he? In reference to the new kid in Crime Alley. And he's like, oh, you've always known. You ever wondered why the pearls?
Right.
So there's something.
So I thought I was missing something.
And then
I remember
Bruce
himself. Yeah, and then it's a dream.
Yeah.
And him and the Joker head, which I really like the Joker head in this one. Him trying to get the knock joke out.
Yeah, it starts with him and the Joker head running away from a Speed Force storm and losing a horse, which may or may not be the latest Robin.
Right. Because Joker just wants to be Robin. And Bruce is like, nah, you can never be Robin. He's like, well, why not? He's like, I'd make this horse Robin before I'd make you. And then as they're going across the Speed Force plains, or the storm hits and it accelerates the horse to bone.
It does one of two things if the Speed Force storm hits you. It either speeds you up until you're just dust, or it rewinds you to the youngest cells possible, so you basically don't exist. Right.
So a bad proposition, but also another Snyder horse death. We got to talk about
really
Snyder
hates horses,
horses.
doesn't he? Yeah. I feel at this point it's just a nice running joke.
Yeah. But you see in this
the Speed Force storm might be some of Capullo's best work. Yeah,
because it's all the Flashes we know. So you got and what's interesting too is that it's Kid Flash Wally, it's Impulse, it's Jay Garrick, and it's Barry.
Yeah. And they're all in there and kind of merging in and out, their faces just coming in and out. It's a fantastic image.
It reminded me of The Creature and the Thing, where you can't tell where one ends and the other begins.
Sure, yeah, I can see that.
So then they decide, well, this is too dangerous to go on foot. So somehow we came across a hang glider. And they start hang gliding over the U.S., and they come across this Fort
Waller.
Yep, and it's got a nuclear silo where it's kind of, Joker tells them that this was where humanity made its last stand, and it's protected by a nuclear man. You see on the top of the silo, it looks like
Captain Atom symbol.
Captain Atom, yeah. And that it's powered by him. It was basically a haven for all the greatest minds that wanted to fight against Luthor. So you got Ivo, Holt, Kale, Savannah. But as it became this bastion for humanity, it drew the green and the red, right? It ended up, becoming like, I don't know if he's intimating that the scientists kind of corrupted the green and the red, but they got out of control. So now there's this constant battle between humanity and the green and the red, and when the red attacks, it's these ghastly looking creatures.
He calls them animal men, but they're like they're kind of mutated things.
Yeah, they look like atomic zombies, right? Like you would see in like in a horror movie. But what's cool here is that the people that are fighting them are known as the unknown soldiers, and they have haunted tanks. But it's basically, he says, the site where one parliament had been brutalized, pillaged, the other burned in the fighting, its protector left mindless and adrift. And we see these two sides just going at it, and then the skies turn red, which I thought was a fun touch, right?
Yeah, it's from all, I mean, bear in mind, they are using like flamethrowers at this point, so it's all this, the smoke and dust burning, and it's this orange glow.
And out of this glow comes a massive Swamp Thing.
Yeah, you can see it, like, the Bruce in the hang glider takes up a tiny percentage of this thing.
Right. And
huge.
They move on.
We can't deal with that.
Yep. And so it's again, it reminded me of Old Man Logan as him and Blind Hawkeye are going across,
Yeah.
seeing what has happened to the U.S. But then we get Alfred in Gotham, and he's got Scarecrow and Bane, and man, Scarecrow's never been scarier to me as a needle phobe because his fingers are just basically syringes.
It's
Like,
kind of the Arkham design.
Kind of, right?
Games.
He has no legs, right?
Oh
like,
no, he chopped the Omega chopped the legs away because it takes away whatever you don't need.
Right, and so with Bane, he's writing Bane like it's Hodor and Bran, you know, and they basically they're going after Alfred.
Oh, Alfred
and,
puts up a fight with a shotgun.
Yeah, but basically he says that Omega wants Alfred. Like, you're not. Where's it at? He said you couldn't leave it alone, couldn't keep your head down. So he's aware of it, and man, Alfred puts up a fight, but Bane's a lot like Jason, and just takes him straight to the chest. And Scarecrow eventually gets him with his needle fingers.
Yeah, and then that kind of paralyzes him because he's not dead yet.
Yep.
And then Omega comes in and starts just talking to him. And Omega we see here is kind of like a Batman suit. Doesn't look to be much of a cape on it, admittedly, but kind of that style. But then with these red lines down it.
Very Darkseid-esque.
Yeah, and of course, the Omega symbol as well, which is again Darkseid-y.
Alfred knows exactly who this is.
Yeah, he's like, no, how could you, after everything he meant to you.
Right.
So, and there's still some guesswork later in the issue as to who this is. Is it another one of the Bruce clones? We'll get to that. Obviously, Dick was one of the main suggestions, but maybe not.
Yeah. So the interesting thing here is that it seems like Omega has almost a compassion to him because, he's going to kill Alfred, but he gives him his heart's wish, which is he tells him that he stopped him from stop the Waynes from not going to Zorro.
Yeah, he saved them all, and then now he sleeps.
Which I think is interesting that Snyder also put that in the Batman Who Laughs, right? At the end with the Bruce that they put back in the Dark Multiverse as a child. So Alfred sees that he sees them, and they're all safe, and then he crumples over and dies. And then we get this page. It's just like a white to blue gradient where they talk about where Joker's talking about the things that they saw.
Yeah, the Crocodile Man at Fawcett City, the Imp Death Grounds in cartoon mist, Hill Country with the space cavalry, ship's cage with universe hearts, God engines, Zeta cannons,
Radiant, Thanagarian, Tamaranian, Appalachian, Kaluan, and they just all lay rotting, right? So whatever's happened is real bad. But then they get to the Plains of Solitude, and Batman and the head of the Joker are climbing up what looks like the edge of the Fortress of Solitude, but there's just these big spires.
One of the spires, yeah.
And it looks a lot like the Superman movie, that Kryptonian architecture, where it's more angular and whatnot.
The crisscrossing spires.
Yeah, and Joker's still trying to get that knock-knock joke, but Bruce isn't going to give it to him.
He's still trying to be Robin. He's like, how about now?
Yep. And they hear this alarm, and Joker's like, oh, don't, bombs don't make noise like that. And a rocket lands right next to him, and it looks like Clark's rocket.
Yeah.
Right? And then a bunch of them start landing, and Batman gets confused because he's like, well, wait a minute. This is the rocket he came to as a baby. Which then Joker, he is like, hey, didn't I tell you that I love babies? He's just so creepy.
Yeah,
but in the best way.
But then Superman comes and picks him up. It's a grizzled Clark with a big beard.
Yeah. Yep. Because he get blown back at one point by one of these rockets.
Yeah.
And he carries him through, and he tells Bruce, "All right, you made it." And then
that's the end of the part. So we're on to part 6 now.
And Bruce is trying to put this together. Why is he hiding in this crystal cavern? And basically, it seems like he's walled off from whatever has happened.
Yeah, and he takes him
he
what
won't.
seems like underground.
Yeah, but he won't talk, and so they come from this cavern, and now they're at the Kent farm in Kansas, and everything's kind of drab. You know, there's a bright blue sky behind them.
Yeah, and it feels fake. You know, Bruce is like, "Hey, did you dig all this out?" Like it feels like it's still underground.
Right, and so they go there, and the person that's in the farmhouse wasn't what I was expecting.
No, it's a
and
terrifyingly decrepit looking Luther.
yeah, and he's green, like sallow skinned. You know,
Yeah,
definitely seen, but he's wearing a Superman shirt.
yeah,
And you find out that this Superman is one of the Superman robots.
yep.
From the Fortress, and that Bruce, you know, was like, "Why is there so many of them?" And he said, "You know, these are what when he was trying to maintain the illusion that Clark and Superman were two different people. This is one of the things we do, which I thought was a nice shout to the Silver Age.
Yeah,
But they're so lifelike, and Lex is like, "Oh well, because they're still organic. I mean, they're like these organic
infused
tissue infused with
Kryptonian
Kryptonian
cells.
cells. So they're not as powerful as Superman, but they're the next best thing. And so all the rockets are Luthor trying to pluck.
Yeah, he's basically trying to create a wormhole before the
Yeah.
rocket lands on Earth, capture the rocket and point it towards now, so that then they can get a real Superman to grow up.
Right. And fight Omega, basically.
Yeah, but the problem is something always goes wrong every time. It's like, okay, you know, when it went through the wormhole, it would be like he'd traveled so many light years that the baby had turned to dust.
Right.
You know, it would always be something that went wrong.
And and this is what I thought was really interesting. We get to the part where we find out why Luthor's like this, and it ties into what's going on in Justice League with the Doom and Justice, and that Lex and Superman made a wager on which is more powerful, Justice or Doom, and as kind of to hedge the bet, Luthor put these Kryptonian spikes into the ground, and that whatever side would end up winning, the Justice or the Doom, the person representing that side dies.
Well, no, the loser died, right?
That's what I mean. The loser dies in.
Yeah. So and it's basically, hey, we're going to give a speech to the people, and they're going to vote, and whichever one they choose, we're just going to end it like this. And he talks about how Clark gave the best speech he'd ever given. Luthor was like, no, I can't beat this. This speech is something else.
Right. So he cheats.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't even really cheat. He just kind of gives a speech. You know, he goes through the motions. And I think, and he's expecting to die. He's like, oh no, you know, the ground trembled, and we both braced for what was coming. You know, the moment where he would save me from the shards with his super speed. But that's not what happened. So even though Luthor didn't give as good a speech, the people chose Doom anyway.
See, but the way that I thought it, he talked about like he had been working with Starro, right?
Yeah.
So like he attached this to every mind in the world. So I feel like he knew what he was doing. But
he was seeding the ground, yeah. But I mean, all anyone the seed in the ground with Starro didn't seem as much as like, he was seeding it so that they would win for him. It was like, he would make it simple. Superman would make his argument for good, mine for evil, and the world would choose. All anyone would have to do was think the word justice or the word doom. So it doesn't sound like he stacked it. Maybe he did a little bit, but it doesn't sound like he did.
Yeah, I just always took it that because the surprise on Luthor's face, where it's almost basically like Superman sacrificed himself.
So yeah, no, it is a surprise on Luthor's face. He expected people to choose justice after hearing Superman's speech. He was like, "There's no way I can compete with that," and then people picked Doom anyway.
So I definitely read into what's going on right now with politics into that scene. It was hard not to.
Yeah.
Right? Because you put it to the will of the people, and then this is what the people pick. You know? And so basically... Yeah, right? And there's definitely some savior imagery with Superman up there. And it totally, changed Luthor here. But this is where I started reading this as I was falling asleep last night. So this is where the rest of the issue gets a little bit hazy. But
It's going to turn into like Matt's dream about lying in a bed of donuts as a bear feeds him something. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. No, basically, like all the Superman drones start turning on them. Start attacking, and they're not entirely sure what's going on. But Bane and Scarecrow here, and Scarecrow's basically infected the drones, with fear toxin, which is why they're attacking their own side, and they actually get saved by Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman shows up. And impales, Superman. One of the Superman drones with a sword.
Yeah.
And
she cuts through him, and then cuts off his hand and then his head.
Yeah.
But then the rest of them attack, and then Lex basically tells them that it's important. You need to get there.
Yeah, you need to go. If I stay here, they'll be attracted to me, so you guys can escape. So he does the sacrifice play. And Diana takes them out to the east edge of the Plains of Solitude, where the grass feels strange, and it's all this green, and you think, they're on like these grassy hills, which is weird given where we know the fortress is. And it's like, oh no, this isn't the ground, and it's like, oh shit, it's actually the Spectre. It's his cloak. He fell when the fighting spread to heaven and hell, but his cloak still serves as a portal to limbo essentially.
So. They go on and they end up going on the River of the Dead, but Diana can navigate them because of the lasso of truth.
Yeah.
And she's going to get them there. A lot more funny stuff with Joker.
Yeah. And as they're going down, they're like, I can hear the voices. And it's like trying to listen to him too much. But, you get this fantastic double-page spread of just all the heroes. All these dead heroes.
Right. And so you got Harley Quinn, you got Stargirl, Shazam, Kyle Rayner.
There's loads. Blue Beetle's there.
Blue Beetle,
Raven.
Blue Demon, Superman, Cyborg, Guy, Green Arrow, Beast Boy. A lot of the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, a lot of the Green Lanterns. Adam Strange is back there.
Yeah.
Mr.
Raven.
Miracle, Booster, Question. Hot Girl,
right, and she's telling him, Bruce, you can't go in. It's like they're almost like sirens, right? Like if you go in there, you're not going to make it.
But then he hears something. He hears Alfred. He's like, damn it, I just left Alfred. He was alive.
Right. And so they keep going, and he wonders if it was all a mistake because he knows he's not really Batman, right? Like this is just a thing, but. She's like, well, no, you're definitely, you're the one that holds the door open for all of us. So it's this really inspirational moment. And then they started moving faster through the underworld. And they pop up. So it's outside of Washington. She lit a fire in the middle of the night when she thought they were asleep.
Yeah, it's just, Wonder Woman was doing some suspicious things, kind of.
Yeah.
To the Joker's perspective.
To the Joker.
Yeah, but finally it's like, oh no, we're here, and Bruce's like, what? No, Gotham doesn't expend anywhere near here, and she's like, look,
it is now,
and we don't see straight away. He just goes, my God, and then it cuts to part 7, and you have just a whole page of this isn't Gotham.
No, it's definitely. So everything's been a wasteland of like apocalyptic like fiction, right? It starts to look the most like Blade Runner. You have these tall towers. You got what look like blimps and
flying drones,
aircraft, and stuff going around. And you have the big bat Omega symbol in the sky.
Yeah, and it's worth noting now, Wonder Woman Omega has everyone under the control of his anti-life signal, so they are very directly tying it to Darkseid.
Yep. And so they go to there and.
And she's like, how are we gonna do this? This is crazy fortified. And Bruce's like, hey, I got an idea. I once snuck onto a really heavily protected island for a case. It was guarded night and day, and it was hidden from perception by this divine veil. And she's like, you did not sneak onto Themyscira. He's like, well, I mean, we called it Paradise Island at the time, but yeah, I did.
Yep. So you start hearing a who, and that's where I got excited. I was like, oh man. Yeah, we're gonna get the Court of Owls here
because you can tell from the font and the
from the font and whatnot. and it is the Court of Owls, but they feel more like the Joker's gang from Batman Beyond, right? It doesn't feel like they're working in any official capacity. And it says they've been sentenced to death, and Bruce recognizes the voice of one of them. And Diana's like, no, that's not possible. And he says, listen to me, it's Bruce, is that you under there? And the main talent takes off his hood, and it's Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends. It says the final battle with Omega coming next, which now Pete has me thinking it's wrestling. So, really good issue.
Yeah, it is. There's like a weird disconnect I know some people are feeling where there's not connective tissue. It's kind of dreamlike in the sense of we'll do this scene here, and then I mentioned, okay, now we're paragliding over to the next bit of the story. Now we're in the underworld. I think the bit between where we go through the Spectre into Limbo is the most connective tissue we have between these places. A lot of it is just we're at the next bit of the journey now. We cut ahead. And I think it's something that if this was a film, you just do your fade out and your fade back in, and you'd be like, time has passed, and no one would even question it. No. But because it's in this comic, and it's just panel to panel.
Yeah, well, and it's very symbolic of different things. Because when they talk about Lex and Superman, and that basically Lex killed Hope, right? That's what he did with Superman. And he feels like he's responsible for this world now. And that's why he's trying to fix it, is that Doom wasn't the answer, justice was. So I'm almost feeling like, is Snyder tipping his hand, or is this just in the story, right? But it seems to be tying into what he's doing on, thematically anyways.
Yeah, it does.
Of all of that, so...
he always saw this as, his final Batman story, the culmination. And I can see it thematically. Yeah. Even if not, this isn't literally the next point of his story. Thematically, it definitely is a culmination of those threads.
So we definitely know Omega's somebody that we know because of the way that Alfred talked to him.
Yeah, but it's
still don't have a beat for who it could be.
Yeah, because Lex talks about how they actually tried to create another Bruce clone for themselves.
Right. It didn't work.
It didn't really work. So that's a potential option, but that doesn't really track with Alfred's line to me.
No, because he said he meant so much to you.
Yeah. So obviously Dick was one of the first choices, but now he's a Talon, so probably not.
Right, and so that leaves members of the Bat family, despite how they're shaped, maybe Barbara, I can see that being a turn.
Maybe.
But maybe Tim. Damian, I think Damian's probably my odds-on favorite right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Tim might have worked, but after the Detective Comics stuff that Time did, it might feel a little bit repetitive to kind of do, evil Tim in the future again.
Right. But it's got to be someone that was inspired by Bruce. And if it's not Dick now, then it's, so. Yeah. But what you rating it, Connor?
I'm going an 8.5. This is great. It's some of Capullo's best work as well.
Yeah, the art's really good. Yeah, I too am going to give it I'm going to give it an 8, not 8.5. But yeah, really good.